Your mother was supposed to be your first safe place. But for some of you watching this, she was the most dangerous one. She was the woman who was supposed to hold you when you cried, who was supposed to look at you like you were the best thing that ever happened to her, who was supposed to be the voice in your head that said, "You are enough, you are loved, you belong here." But that's not what happened, is it? Instead, you got criticism, or coldness, or comparisons, or silence so heavy it felt like a punishment. Maybe she screamed, maybe she never said anything at all, maybe she smiled in front of others and turned into someone completely different behind closed doors. And the cruelest part, you didn't blame her, you blamed yourself. You were a little girl, and you decided, somewhere deep in your bones, that if your own mother couldn't love you, it had to be because something was wrong with you. That belief didn't stay in childhood. It followed you into your friendships, your relationships, your career, the way you talk to yourself in the mirror at 32 years old. This video is for every woman who grew up in that house, who smiled at school and fell apart at home, who learned to make herself invisible just to survive, who is still, even now, trying to figure out why she never felt like enough. Stay with me, because what I'm going to tell you next is going to change the way you see your entire story. Part 1. The mirror that broke you. A mother is supposed to be a girl's very first mirror. Not a mirror made of glass, but a living one. One that reflects back to you, "I see you, I delight in you, you are real and you matter." Before the world gets a chance to tell you who you are, your mother's eyes do. The way she looks at you, speaks to you, holds you, or doesn't, becomes the voice you use to narrate your own life for decades. But when that mirror is cold, critical, or cruel, the little girl looking into it doesn't think something is wrong with this mirror, she thinks something is wrong with my face. And so it begins. Not always with screaming, not always with obvious cruelty. Sometimes it begins in the quietest, most invisible ways. A sigh when you walk into the room. Praise that always comes with a condition. Love that feels earned, not given. Being told you're dramatic when you cry. Being punished for having needs. Being compared to a cousin, a neighbor's daughter, an imaginary version of someone better. Being made to feel in 100 small waves every single day that you are a burden, that you are too much, that you are not quite what she wanted. You learned to survive in that house. You learned to read the room the second you walked in the door. You could tell from the sound of her footsteps what kind of afternoon it would be. You became so attuned to her moods, her silences, her anger, that you forgot to pay attention to your own. You made yourself smaller, quieter, more convenient. You performed happiness. You disappeared when necessary. You tried harder, achieved more, gave more, not because you wanted to, but because you were always trying to finally be enough, to make her love you the way you needed. And you were a child. You had no way of knowing that the love you were chasing was never actually yours to earn, that no amount of good grades, good behavior, or self-erasure was going to unlock what she simply did not have to give. Part 2. What it does to you. The little girl grows up, but the wounds she carried in that house don't stay behind when she leaves. They travel with her. They become the invisible lens through which she sees herself in every relationship she will ever have. The first thing that follows her is the relentless hunger for approval. Because she spent her earliest years trying to earn love from someone who withheld it, she becomes wired to need validation from the outside. She becomes the woman who says yes when she means no, who apologizes when she's done nothing wrong, who shrinks herself in a room full of people because somewhere in her nervous system, taking up space still feels dangerous. She gives and gives and gives in relationships, often to people who take and take and take. And she doesn't always recognize it as a pattern, it just feels like love to her. Overgiving feels like love. Self-abandonment feels like devotion, because that's the version of love she learned first. The second thing that follows her is the fear of abandonment that lives under everything. If the woman who gave birth to you didn't stay warm, didn't stay present, didn't stay safe, some part of your nervous system concludes that no one will, that love is always provisional, that people are always one bad day away from leaving. So she might push people away before they can leave on their own. She might self-sabotage relationships right when they start to feel real and safe, because real and safe is unfamiliar territory, and the nervous system is suspicious of it. She might stay in relationships that hurt because at least pain feels familiar. At least she knows how to navigate that. The third thing, and this one is the one that cuts the deepest, is the voice. The voice that sounds like her own but belongs to her mother. The one that says, "You are too much. You are too sensitive. You are difficult to love. You don't deserve good things." She doesn't always know that voice isn't hers. She's been hearing it so long it feels like her own inner monologue. She mistakes it for honesty, for self-awareness, for some deep and accurate truth about who she is. It is none of those things. It is a wound that learned to speak. And there's one more thing, the shame. A particular suffocating kind of shame that comes with this specific wound, because the world still has a hard time believing that a mother can be the source of her daughter's most profound pain. So the daughter learns to be quiet about it. She makes excuses for her mother. She says it wasn't that bad. She feels guilty for feeling hurt. She grieves in private, if she grieves at all. All of this, the people-pleasing, the fear, the borrowed voice, the silence, becomes the shape of her life. Not because she is broken, but because she was never shown anything different. The turn. What's actually true? Now, I need you to hear this. Not just understand it intellectually, but actually let it land somewhere inside you. Her inability to love you the way you needed was never, ever about you. A mother who criticizes her daughter relentlessly is a woman carrying wounds she never healed. A mother who withholds warmth is a woman who probably never was given warmth herself. A mother who competes with her daughter, resents her, undermines her, is a woman who is drowning in her own pain and taking you under with her. None of that is your fault. Not at 7, not at 14, not now. You were not too much. You were not difficult. You were not the problem. You were a child who needed love, and you were placed through no choice of your own into the care of someone who did not know how to give it. The way she treated you was a reflection of her damage. It was never a measurement of your worth. But here's the hard truth that lives right next to that one. Knowing it intellectually is not the same as feeling it. You can hear those words and nod and still wake up at 3 a.m. with that voice telling you you're not enough. You can know your mother was damaged and still flinch every time someone you love goes quiet. You can understand the psychology and still give too much, apologize too fast, and choose people who confirm your worst beliefs about yourself. Because the wound isn't in your mind, it's in your body. It's in your nervous system. It's in the part of you that learned very early what love feels like, and that version of love had teeth in it. Healing isn't just understanding. Healing is the slow, patient, unglamorous work of teaching your body something different. Part 3. What happens after? So what does healing actually look like? Not the version on Instagram with the candles and the journal and the perfectly worded affirmations. The real version. It starts with grief. Real, honest, ugly grief. Not just for what happened, but for what never happened. For the mother you needed and didn't have. For the little girl who waited and tried and performed and hoped. For the years you spent blaming yourself for something that was never your fault. That grief is not weakness. It is not self-pity. It is the most honest thing you will ever do. And it has to be felt, really felt, before it can move through you. After grief comes the work of recognition, learning to see your patterns clearly, not to punish yourself for them, but to name them with compassion. This is where I abandon myself. This is where I let the wrong people in. This is the voice that isn't mine. When you can name a pattern, you take away some of its power. You stop being run by it unconsciously and start being able to choose differently. Then comes the hardest work of all, learning to mother yourself, to give yourself what you were supposed to receive, to speak to yourself with the patience, the warmth, the steady reassurance that should have been there from the beginning. Not because it erases what happened, but because you stop waiting for her to give it to you and you start building it for yourself. This might look like therapy. A good therapist can help you locate the wound beneath the pattern and work with it in ways that thinking alone cannot reach. It might look like learning to sit with your own emotions without dismissing them, learning to say no without a flood of guilt, learning to receive love from people who offer it consistently and calmly, and not running from it because it feels unfamiliar. It looks like slowly and imperfectly building a relationship with yourself that is nothing like the one she modeled, where your needs are not a burden, where your feelings are not a problem, where you are not performing goodness in exchange for love. You are simply living as someone who already deserves it. This is not a fast process. It is not linear. There will be days when the old voice comes back loud and convincing. There will be relationships that pull you into old patterns. There will be moments when you wonder if any of this is actually working. It is. Slowly, it is. If you grew up in that house, if you know what it feels like to look for safety in your mother's face and find something cold there instead, I want you to know this. You did not imagine it. You are not the problem, and you are not what she made you feel like you were. The girl who grew up hated by her mother does not have to become a woman who hates herself. That is the inheritance she gets to refuse. That is the cycle she has the power, the hard-won, hard-earned power, to break. Not by forgetting, not by forgiving before she's ready, but by deciding again and again in the small choices no one else can see that she will not let that be the last word on who she is. What she builds from here is entirely hers, and it will be nothing like where she came from. If this video reached something in you, subscribe. We talk about psychology, healing, and identity here for people who are doing the real work. Comment "breaking the cycle" below if this is your story. You'd be surprised how many women will see that comment and feel less alone because of it. And if there's someone in your life who needs to hear this today, share it with her. Sometimes the most healing thing is just knowing someone finally said it out loud.